Okay, good morning, folks. Home Handyman. Hey, what is today's quick tip? Well, we all have bench grinders. I've got two of them. I've got a large Delta and I have a smaller Ryobi. And so the problem with that smaller Ryobi, it's not a problem. I can get away with it, but they make very cheap, inexpensive grinder guards. I think they're made out of the thinnest metal they could possibly find when they manufactured them. I kind of don't like them. I mean, I can use them. They serve, I guess, a purpose for a small bench grinder. I know on my big Delta I made, and I've got really big, thick, and I'll show you in a minute, I mean, guards, just because they're a lot better, and I can make them to my own specifications, which I do a lot of wood turning. Those are future videos that I plan on making, but I do a lot of wood turning when I get the wood, and for sharpening tools and different angles and being able to manipulate larger tools for sharpening, I needed much better, larger guards. So I made them. So I'm going to show you a picture here I pulled off of the web, and I'm going to show you how easy this is to do, and it's a good little project for your shop. You can make these out of scrap steel. You can make them far better than what you can buy, and like I said, you can make them to your own specifications. Let me throw up a picture. Let's get after it. Like I always say, no long intros. We just get right to it and let's discuss it. Here we go. Okay, here I put up a picture. This is from Central Machine. Whoever this was probably got this out at Harbor Freight, but it's going to demonstrate for me an easy to follow way that you can do these guards. So we're going to use it. And I put a circle around the original guard that came with this benchtop grinder. And you can see up here, it's not the thickest metal, okay? It's thin. You can use this for a pattern. I mean, this is the reason why I put this up there. Now, look down below on both the right and the left, and you'll see these are the guards that this particular guy made. Now, I made mine a little bit wider, flatter, and beefier as far as the dimensions. You made very simple ones here, but you're going to do the same things to the steel irregardless of the dimensions that you make them. So let's talk about this in detail so you know exactly how to make this without stumbling and running into a lot of trouble. Okay, well, assume you went out and you got your steel. It can be angle iron, it could be anything that you came across. So the hardest part of this project, because I've done this, is take a look over on the right, and you see that guard where those two bolts are. Now, you have to create this groove here so that you're able to adjust it in towards the stone or out away from the stone. The problem here is, how do I cut that elongated opening? Okay, you use a drill, and I have a drill press, and I drilled the hole in the front and the hole in the back, and I put a couple in the middle there, and then you say, well, gee, now I got to cut out that leftover and create that slot. So then I switched over, because I've got a bunch of simple hand tools, and I used a jigsaw with a metal blade, and I cut out, and then it looks still really rough. I put it in a vise. I used a hand file, cheap one from out at Harbor Freight, because I don't care about those. They're throwaways, and I abuse the hell out of them. And I went ahead and I cleaned up that slot. Now, you can use, up here where I circled it with that green, you can use that as your template for making that elongated opening. So you can lay this right on top of the piece of steel you're doing, trace it out with a scribe, and then you can turn around and start doing the drilling and everything I'm telling you. Okay, then what you have left is just some simple welding that you see there, and you clean it up with your grinding disc, flap wheels, or whatever you want. And the bending here that you can do, or you can make this like a much bigger platform. I'll show you pictures in a minute. But this, you don't even need to heat up. This was made out of this cold rolled flat stock. I mean, you can put it in a vise and hit it with a heavy hammer, and you can make these bends. It's not going to turn out super pretty, but I mean, if you spend your time, it's going to turn out well. It'll work. Like I always said, it's not a beauty contest. These are tools, and you're going to have a much heavier duty tool rest. Let me throw up a couple pictures. I'll give you some ideas on other ways that you can make these. It's a simple project, and it's great if you have a grinder at home where you don't feel that the ones that came with it are sufficient enough. Give me just a sec. Okay, let's take a look at this one and what the guy did. He got himself some just scrap pine wood for a base, or you can use your bench top if you want. And he used these 2x4s. Okay, and he created those verticals, and then, forgetting this little doohickey he's got on the far right, What he did is he just used, take a look on the left and the right both, but he just used simple angle iron, and he created this base, and it runs all the way across the face of it. And I had a comment going, why would you want to make something that goes all the way across the front? Well, who cares? You're not going to use anything in the middle anyway where the motor housing is. You're not using it for anything. And it's faster and it's easier to fabricate and make one of these when you don't have to do all of the cutting. And you can see, like right up where the grinder touches the metal, he made little tiny like cutouts there so that this can set in a little bit. Now on my Delta I made much bigger ones, and my platform slides in more, so I can actually use the sides of the grinder if I wanted to. And I'll show you a picture of somebody that did that in a minute. But this right here, I mean, take a look at this. This is very simple to do. You can do this out of a lot of scrap. It's not that hard. And you can do it right on your bench top, or you can make a mobile platform like he did here in this picture. And if you take a look, I don't know why he welded this other thing across the front or whatever, but this flat steel you can get out at these supply places in the discarded pile, and you can just say, hey, this will work. I'll use my cutoff wheel at home and I can cut it to the length that I want. If the platform is a little bit wider or bigger, what do you care? I mean, for a lot of tools it won't matter. Now if you have something specific and you want it thinner, okay, look for a piece that's not so wide. But you can make this platform real quick and easy. I like this. I like how he did the simplicity of it. It's just a thought. So this is one way. Let me throw up another picture and let's have another discussion before we wrap this. Okay, this is a DeWalt. I probably exploded this picture more than I should have, and it might look a little fuzzy, but the point is not to go on and on trying to sell you a DeWalt benchtop grinder. But take a look at these bases right here, the tool bases. This is where that groove I told you where it touches the wheel is cut out. It's notched. And I notched mine out pretty good so it can slide in much closer to that stone. And I can have, when I'm making like, let's say a round nose scraper or any kind of a round nose thing, I can actually use the sides of this and I can make these sweeping motions without having to only concentrate on the front. Now I'm not going to tell you it's a good idea to use the side of your grinding wheels all the time. It's probably not. When I have, like on one of mine, I have a 120 grit wheel and I have an 80 grit on the other side, or a 60 grit, I forgot at the moment. So one side is for roughing out the edge that I want, especially with lathe tools, and the 120 is for fine tuning that cutting edge. These work great for me after I made them, and I made them out of steel. Now these, of course, are purchased from the manufacturer. I'm not suggesting you go do that. Just saying look at the platforms and you too can make these. It's not that hard. It costs next to nothing, really. All right, up the next picture and let's talk about the last one here. Give me one sec. Okay, here's the last picture putting up. Now this is more in line with what we are able to do and make in our shops at home. Looks a little crude. It looks dirty, not that fancy, beautiful stuff that you buy brand new. It's functional, it works, and it works great. Now here, what he did, he took a piece of steel, and look at the base, and he created from flat stock and from square tubing, you know, he made this. And you can see where he put the nut in down in through the top, and he made the base. So you can play around and make these yourself for your bench or a mobile, or, you know, like a mobile base. Home Handyman, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick tip video on how to make new bases for your grinder. And I'll see you on the next video. And don't forget to click subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.